Hi guys, welcome to this tutorial of how to land an aircraft during a crosswind. The conditions I've selected for this tutorial are 24 knots gusting to 36 knots with strong gusts at an 80-degree angle to the runway heading. So the first technique I will demonstrate to you is the crab technique. This technique is where you keep the wings level throughout the approach and use yaw or the rudders to keep the aircraft on the extended centerline of the runway throughout. At 10 feet above the runway, I will swing the nose of the aircraft round using right rudder in this case, and at the same time left aileron to compensate for the roll effect when you apply rudder. The aircraft should then touch down on two wheels while on the runway heading. Then apply reverse thrust and braking as normal to bring the aircraft to a halt while holding the runway heading as you roll down the runway.
50, 40, 30.
So here I am now at 10 feet. I swing the nose round while keeping the wings level, touchdown, slightly hard, but these conditions are very severe. Then holding the runway heading as much as possible, slow down as normal to a halt. Here's a replay of that landing to show you from the tail perspective what was happening. So you see I was slightly adjusting using roll, but keeping the same heading on the nose mostly. And then as I got down to 10 feet I quickly applied right rudder and at the same time left aileron to keep the wings level, and then touch down, and then tried to hold the runway heading as much as possible. You see I was slightly to the left, that's because the wind was still pushing the aircraft to the right at those higher speeds, but now at this lower speed I'm perfectly on the runway centerline. The other technique I will show you is the side slip technique. This is the opposite to the crab technique, as you keep the nose on the runway centerline but use roll to compensate for the drift of the wind.
1,000.
At the start of the approach you will use the crab technique as normal, but then at around 500 feet on the approach, or 800 feet, slightly higher maybe if you feel, you can apply rudder away from the wind, slowly banking into the wind to keep yourself on the runway centerline. So you see now I'm slowly bringing the nose into the wind while judging the amount of bank needed to compensate for the crosswind.
Terrain. Approaching minimums.
And then I will continue flying down to the runway with the nose on the runway heading, but slightly tilting to the left in this case. Just above the runway I will bring the wings level to touch down on two wheels as normal.
20. 10.
There we go, touch down on two wheels, the left wheel slightly lifted up there because of the wind pushing it up, and then brake as normal and try to keep the nose on the centerline of the runway. I find this technique much easier as there is less juggling with the controls to do just before you touch down. In this third landing, you will see I'm using a combination of the crab and side slip techniques. This is because the conditions are so severe that if I just use the crab technique I would need such a large angle of yaw that it would be very hard to bring the nose into the runway centerline heading before touchdown. Equally, if I used the side slip technique on its own, I would need such a large angle of bank that would be very hard to land on both wheels accurately. You see, however, on this runway, this time it is wet, the runway, so because it is very slippery, when the runway is slippery we don't bring the nose to the runway centerline heading before we touch down. We actually do it just as we touch down and the wheels are very lightly on the ground. This is to prevent the aircraft drifting after touchdown, because obviously there isn't any grip from the tyres, or there's not as much grip from the tyres, so the wind will continue to push the aircraft away from the runway centerline. There we go, bring it to a stop down the runway centerline. I hope this tutorial was helpful. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or suggestions, please leave a comment. Thanks.